Hello again. You are a trooper. I gotta admit, you're an inspiration, whoever you are, because we probably don't know each other, probably have not met face to face. I have fans that watch or read the descriptions because they're on my private email list. But there's a description at the bottom of this video. You click on it, it'll unfold. It'll be between 500 and 700 words. It goes along with the video. Anyway, thanks for chiming in, tuning in, or whatever internet language is appropriate for seeing videos here on YouTube. I'm Tomlin's Nyback. This is 365 days towards racial change. This is day 284. Moving right along here, we're downhill now in our race to that 365. Well, we got about 80 some to go. Here we are. I'm in the middle of my semester, finishing off a philosophy degree, and finally have some time to get back to this work and meditate, reflect. It's a very unique time in my life. It took me a long time to get here, as you can see. This wouldn't have worked in my 20s. I was strung out on alcohol, drugs, and all kinds of stuff a long time ago. So I had to earn this privilege, almost. I would call it a right, but life is configured where you really have to earn, you have to elbow and work your way into that space. So here I am. We're back in Uncle Tom's cabin. We talked yesterday about young George Shelby looking for Tom. Tom's been murdered by his master, and he's buried. But the story's not ending. Harriet Beecher Stowe has a few more chapters in there. She wants to communicate a few more things to her audience. I usually talk about black and white relationships in America. I want to talk about something different because I think it'll uh, go well with today's portion. If you have the text, we're in chapter 42, Authentic Ghost Story. Our president and the news cycles and all that, it's all, I see those being successful are those who are exerting power and control in the system, in any system, have the ability to do a paradigm shift. They have the charisma to alter uh, the state of the nature of things, the whole paradigm of what's going on in their favor. Um, and they're able to move out and blossom and maximize in that way. Well, it's the same thing. Same thing I see here in. Do I have some lint up there again? I really dislike that. It's the same thing with our current president. No other president before or after is going to meet the Trump paradigm, at least for a long time. It's going to be a long time till you have this kind of upheaval. Like I said, I'm finishing off a philosophy degree, and one of the requirements at the college I go to is to study a man named Immanuel Kant. And this guy is a required course all to himself, 4,000 level and whatnot. And it's not till after I got through the course, exhausted, and having had a philosophical change of mind, that I see why the philosophy department says you don't get your philosophy major degree without appreciating this man's thought. Now, this guy never left his hometown, and he's back in the 1700s. Never left his hometown, never married. They say he died a virgin and stuff like that. Um, I think those are some significant things. You know, he wasn't a world traveler looking at uh, Far Eastern thought and there's so much with current, maybe his contemporary scholars and philosophers and things like that. Uh, that wasn't his focus, but he was able to really look at philosophy and say what's there. And in the philosophical Western philosophical conversation, you know, like a lot of big names come up that are that you have to, you know, um, appreciate, look at least have been introduced to. If you're going to engage in the conversation, if you're going to appreciate what's going on, you know, we look at our presidents. Well, they're easy. All the 40 some presidents we've had, and each president has had their issue. Washington the first, and there are people, you know, Eisenhower with interstate highways, you know, making travel, you know, you know, keeping up with technology and travel across the United States. You know, if you keep your foot on the gas, you could uh, do it in 3 or 4 days. Eisenhower, when he was in the army, it took him 3 months. You know, uh, you know, other presidents have had to come. So, and then our current president has just upheaval and done a paradigm shift. Well, that's what Immanuel Kant is like. You got all these philosophers before him: Plato, Socrates, Aristotle. You know, your ancient Greek. Even further back, Heraclitus, Democritus, if I'm saying that right, right, and then further up, Cartesian thought, Spinoza, um, um, and on. The list goes on and on. But this guy Immanuel Kant is a central figure. That it's tough to get. He's like gravity, and you don't. Um, it's tough to carry his thought further and articulate his thought because he's just stripped down philosophy, phenomenology, things like that to its bitter core. Trust me, this is going to tie in to our racial change. So you have to do that. You know, a good illustration is, you know, when I was a kid, you know, I'm in grade school. In our little grade school, we had gangs on the playground and stuff like that. And I had agitated two bigger boys that lived in my neighborhood a little too much, and they were going to jump me at the bus stop. You remember those days? Anyway, so we're on the bus. We rode the same bus, and so I'm like, I know these two guys are after me. Right? So what I did, you know, we got to my bus stop. I stayed on the bus. They didn't know what to do with themselves. He stayed on the bus. So we went even a few more stops. I calmly stayed on the bus, and they're like, "We're out of our zone. It's a paradigm shift on jumping guys at the bus stop." So they got off. I got off at the next couple stops, did a roundabout way home, and got home safe and sound. The paradigm shift. You got to shift the whole thing, and you know, or how Black folks, as a community, as a group, will recover, overcome, replenish, become competitive. You know, my idea, I'd like to see a flip flop of black and white power for a time. Let's see what the shoe looks like on other feet. But that's a long way off. But it's going to call for some radical adjustments in thinking, in procedure, in community, in finances, like total overhaul for us to be successful as a group. Got plenty of little pockets out there, but as a group, that's what's going to need to happen. That brings us to Uncle Tom's Cabin, Authentic Ghost Story, Chapter 42. Cassey has done an extreme paradigm shift on pursuing slaves, escape, concealment, and all that. She's almost hid in plain sight is what she's done. Now, of course, this is Harriet Beecher Stowe's work, but so just understand that these characters, all of them are aspects of Stowe's thinking and whatnot. So Harriet puts in this little feature in the story that may make it possible for Cassey and Emmeline to escape. So they're hiding in the house. Tom holds his peace, holds his tongue, and is killed for it. And it's a Christ-like imagery in Harriet's story. We don't have too much problem with that. Now, I'm not going to go big into that. I'm not going to proselytize or preach to you about that. But I'm sure that's her intention with Tom, this Christ character. Now, but they're hiding in plain sight. They're up in there in the attic. So now, Tom's death almost it's a plus because Legree's plantation is darkness. You feel it when he probably lived on I grew up on a dirt road. I wouldn't say it was darkness. But to get to Legree's plantation in the mid 1800s, it wasn't some asphalt lane, I'm sure. This is a dirt road, crudely kept. He bought it from a family that was doing well before him, so it was probably well kept at one point. But now the lane is overgrown. You might even question, it might look like a path into a mysterious space, getting to Legree's plantation. But you can tell there's been activity on it, that kind of thing. If you've grown up anywhere in rural America, you know what kind of pathway I'm talking about. Maybe a crude broken fence off the main highway into his property. Darkness over Legree's space. So once you even get on the lane and you start going, maybe a quarter of a mile, twisting and winding to the plantation through the swamp, quarter mile, half a mile. And, but it's darkness, cold, quiet, you see the slaves milling about and all that. So Tom's death adds to the darkness because they know that everyone knows Tom's death is because Legree then murdered another slave and will not be held accountable. The two women have disappeared. They've done something that no slave has ever done off the plantation. They're hearing strange movements and noise up in the attic, but because of the mystique, they don't go up there. Now Tom has died, and they know that Tom is he's pious, and Tom has infected them, so to speak, with the love of God, Christianity, forgiveness, hope of a better life in the hereafter, by and by, and whatnot. And there may be rumors of his spirit still lingering about. This is Louisiana, Creole territory. A lot of It's the it's the collision, amalgamation, galvanization of a lot of religions and stuff in that space. So it's not wouldn't be any surprise to hear whispers of Tom's spirit and stuff. There's even rumors of shrouded apparitions at night and stuff, which is probably Cassey and Emmeline moving about and stuff. They're waiting till they're still up in the attic, but they're waiting till the right time to go. Um, it's a lot of shrouding. The white man that knocked Legree down, I'm sure that went like buzzed like wildfire through the plantation to an event almost like Mike Tyson getting knocked down, losing a fight to Buster Douglas. That type of news, you know, was about. So all this mystique, another murder, apparitions at night, noise up in the mysterious attic. Legree's drinking more, you know. He's extremely paranoid. Um, Blonde curls are wrapping around his hand like vipers. He's reminded of the way he treated his own mother and his brutishness, unwilling to change, totally content with letting the status quo prevail. Hmm. Cassie's moving about at night, tormenting him. He's locking doors. He's putting chairs up against the doors. He's just trying to uh, find some peace in his paranoia. He's probably drinking to go to sleep. Um, you know, drink a lot of alcohol. That's a depressant, and all that the ethanol and the stuff goes to the head. You might black out, still be a little functional, but eventually you'll get to sleep. Um, in that mystique, Cassey she's coming into the bedroom, Legree's bedroom at night, even with the door locked, chairs and stuff. Cassey finds entrance. She's been in the house for a while, so you're not going to get anything past her. And if you read some of Edgar Allan Poe's material, Telltale Heart or something like that, you get an idea of this dark shadows atmosphere in the Legree house. Cassey finally makes her way out of there. There's a few witnesses that say, they saw two apparitions going down the lane one night. And of course, it's Cassey and Emmeline. There's no more chasing, and they've given up the hunt. It's safe to go. But they have got to go in disguise. So Cassie's going to be a Creole Spanish woman. Emmeline's going to be her servant girl, right? So they're getting ready to travel. They they meet up with George, young George Shelby, waiting for the boats to take them. They're going to head north and make a go of it. They're not really on the run because they've disappeared out of the space. That's hard to do nowadays. We got cameras on every intersection and stuff, a lot of surveillance going on, a lot of 1984 Big Brothers type things going on. Not so much so in mid 1800s America. Uh, George is fixated on Cassey in her disguise and all that, and he he makes a point to be in her space and try to make acquaintance and all that, and they do. They make a connection within that uh, benign platonic uh, relationship. Cassey discloses that she's on the run from Legree's plantation. She recognizes him when he was there earlier to retrieve Tom, and she discloses everything. George is like, "Good. I'm glad. I'm happy to hear someone got away from that brute." Because he knows, George is from, you know, good slave masters. You know, that's a tough sell, provided what we talk about here at racial change. But you got to admit that the Shelbys were good. His father gambled away the slaves, which was common. Obviously, in the South, we got incident after incident through Harriet's book about the slaves being um, just marketed and sold off to settle gambling debts. Um, so he's fine with that. And on the barge and the paddle boats that they're on, George meets another woman named Detho, a French woman. Oh, French. She's actually she's a slave, the product of a white slave master, black mother. And anyway, she was purchased but taken overseas, educated in France. And the man who took her, bought her, freed her, married her, and all that. Now she's back in the States as a free woman. And they get in a conversation, and she wants to know about a George Harris. Now, George Harris is her brother. George is the other George that escaped to Canada with Eliza, right? And George Shelby says, "Yeah, I know him. Yeah, he married one of our slave girls, a very beautiful slave woman." Cassie's over listening to this conversation, and she realizes that this slave woman that the Shelbys bought is Eliza, Cassie's daughter. Remember, Cassie is one of those slave women that were used. She was beauty, slave. The white men loved to sex it up with their slaves, but rarely married or gave rights and things like that. So Eliza was a very attractive person, woman. George's father, Mr. Shelby, bought her from Louisiana, took her up north to Kentucky. Cassie faints and falls on the floor. That's how the chapter ends. So Harriet Beecher Stowe has used Tom as this thread to kind of bring the possibility of reunion of some of these characters in slave America, where families are just sold off, records are poorly kept, nobody knows who's who, and we're all over here and stuff. Well, Harriet gives us kind of a story with some warm, fuzzy feelings in it. We're going to find out tomorrow what's going to happen with all these realizations, possible reunions, bringing together these characters and these chance encounters. What are the odds that you run into this guy's sister and this woman's mother in slave America, and there's people that are free and running away, and a lot of confusion, a lot of complicated plots and issues and things. And Harriet Beecher Stowe is very masterful at that, bringing all that together. Let's find out tomorrow what's going to happen. I don't want to finish without, I got talking, you got me talking, which is amazing because in my personal life, I'm a very quiet man. But I don't want to miss out on talking about Dr. Claude Anderson. He's the man who has inspired me to do this work. I've read three of his books. I'll tell you where to get some of his resources. You can also find him here on YouTube. He's easy to find. Dr. Claude Anderson. A Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask. Black Labor, White Wealth, Search for Power, and Economic Justice. And Dr. Anderson's National Plan to Empower Black America. Powernomics. You can find Dr. Anderson at powernomics.com. And like I said, here on YouTube. Check out this hashtag, Us2 symbol. I think you go to Facebook. I haven't looked at it in a while. But I'm pretty sure Black women are still there having a community, associating, and doing all they can to support one another with their unique issues. Check out Black Enough, BLAGGENUF, kind of a Black Facebook experience. You got an entrepreneurial mind. You can look at Dr. Boyce Watkins at theblackbusinessschool.com, and maybe you could light your fire and you could be the next millionaire. I'm going a different route, but my hopes are still high. I'm very optimistic about my financial future. And what we've been talking about the past half hour is Harry Beecher Stowe's phenomenal work, Uncle Tom's Cabin. We referenced this book. It's a fictional work of the lives of slaves and stuff like that. But we find a lot of talking points. There's a lot of systemic issues that we find their roots in slavery America. Yeah, interesting enough. There's a lot of different reasons of why some of those issues prevail today that allows these people to stay in power and these people to be disconnected from the wealth and resources of America. All very relevant work. So hey, thanks for hanging in there with me. I see I got a few minutes left, but that's okay. We don't have to take up all the time. So we just like to have fun here. Maybe I'm kind of like a Bob Ross of racial change. Oh boy, I love Bob Ross. Um, he didn't stay with us long enough, and that's as simple as life can be, right? Mr. Rogers, Bob Ross. Life could be that way for everybody if we would just slow down. Really, everybody's in this feverish rush, but just the easel, painting with your knife, with your titanium white and burnt sienna, and you can create masterpieces over and over again. I don't think I'm that great, but I'll give a shout out to Bob Ross any day of the week, twice on Sunday. I'm Tomlin's Nyback. That's 365 days towards racial change. I think that's 283. Out of the way, I lost count. Come back and join us again, or 284. Come back and join us again. Let's see what's going to happen with these realizations and connections. Maybe there'll be some reunions. Who knows? I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.